Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston's Auto Blog. Luxury is not usually a word we use to describe the Mazda brand, but lately it appears as though Mazda is moving in a new direction. A direction that will eventually lead them on a collision course with brands such as Acura, Lexus, Infiniti, and possibly Audi and BMW. But in the meantime, we have the 2021 Mazda CX-5 Signature. It's a top trim for this compact crossover, and I have to say it's pretty impressive, providing a lot of comfort and luxury features at a relatively affordable price. Now, Mazda has never really been known to be a high-volume seller. In fact, I think moving in the luxury direction is the right decision in the long run. But interestingly enough, the CX-5 actually outsold most of its competition in the compact crossover segment, including the Volkswagen Tiguan, the Jeep Cherokee, and the Hyundai Tucson, which really, those three vehicles are great crossovers in this price range. But Americans are really drawn in by what Mazda has to offer. So in this video, we're going to take a good long look at the Mazda CX-5, see why it's outselling its closest competition, but also if you are looking at buying, say, a Mazda CX-30, maybe upgrading to a CX-5 might be a great decision. Now, before I get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Prime Mazda in Norwood, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review, but also digging out the CX-5 after a major snowstorm to make this review possible. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Mazda inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. Compact crossovers are the bread and butter for most, if not all, manufacturers in 2021, as they have the most perceived value for the price according to consumers looking for a vehicle in the $26,000 to $40,000 price range. Since these crossovers all function the same, many have argued that this segment is filled with cookie-cutter vehicles that all share the same characteristics and features. And rarely will you find a unique SUV that stands out amongst the crowd. The Mazda CX-5 finds itself among rivals, such as the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Nissan Rogue, and Jeep Cherokee. And while it may not be the best-selling option in this market, the CX-5 seems to be the crossover that no one talks about, but everyone buys, as even in 2020, popularity didn't wane. Starting off with pricing, the CX-5 Signature comes in at $39,175, with everything included. You may be paying a little extra for some minor accessories, but the Signature trim is fully equipped, and we'll go over the features this CX-5 comes with later in this review once we step inside. As you can tell from the exterior, this isn't the largest crossover in this segment, and actually has more of a hatchback-like roofline to give the CX-5 a sleeker and sportier appearance. For buyers strictly looking at the Mazda brand and debating whether to go with the CX-30 or CX-5, keep in mind that the CX-5 is about 6 inches longer, 2 inches wider, and 3 inches higher than the subcompact CX-30, which will have a profound effect on interior space, legroom, and overall practicality. When it comes to versatility, the CX-5 for 2021 will have a ground clearance of 7.5 inches, which is more than enough to take on winter road conditions and very light off-roading. Taking a look at the road presence, Mazda keeps their designs simple yet classy. Throughout the lineup, most of their vehicles share a very similar front fascia, with chrome accents outlining the gloss black grille and integrating into the headlight housings. For the Signature, one of the minor differences compared to more affordable trims is the LED fog lights to add improved illumination at night. Of course, the headlights will also be LED for that upscale appearance. Adding to the entry-level luxury appeal is the minimal use of plastic cladding, differing greatly from the CX-30, which will be more noticeable around the wheel arches. But when staring at this crossover, you don't get the sense that it's cheaply made, and that's why the CX-5 is slowly becoming more popular with each passing year. Moving over to the side profile, the Signature trim sits on 19-inch aluminum alloy wheels with a dark silver finish, wrapped in all-season tires. You'll also have power folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators, and for added safety, you will have blind spot detection. Then coming around to the back, the simplistic design cues make their way to the rear fascia, as body lines are smoother and more free-flowing that I've always felt gives modern-day Mazda products a concept car-like road presence. Even better for buyers who don't like boxy crossovers, the roofline and C-pillar architecture are streamlined and aerodynamic, and almost hatchback-like in a sense. The CX-5 is one of the more inspiring crossovers in its segment, and does a great job standing out despite its laid-back and unassuming personality. As we saw up front, you'll have LED taillights, and as I mentioned earlier, the use of plastic cladding is held to a minimum, which is something I can appreciate in an era where brands try way too hard making their crossovers seem rugged and off-road worthy, when most likely they'll be navigating their way through mall parking lots. Under the hood, the Mazda CX-5 Signature is powered by a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 250 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission. As we'll discuss during the test drive, the turbo pairs very well with this transmission, more so than the naturally aspirated engine. Gear shifts are smoother, and overall performance is impressive, considering that this isn't a sporty crossover by any means. You're not left desiring more, and the amount of refinement you feel behind the wheel gives you the impression that you're driving a luxury crossover, and that's important as this vehicle is priced right around $40,000. For the drivetrain, the Signature will have all-wheel drive standard for better year-round drivability during the winter, but for lower trims, you can opt for front-wheel drive. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 miles per gallon on the highway. Stepping inside, you're greeted by power-adjustable, heated and ventilated Nappa leather seats for both the driver and passenger, adding a plush and luxurious experience when driving. And for added convenience, the driver's side will also have a 2-position memory function. Available on the Grand Touring Reserve and Signature, you'll have a heated leather-wrapped steering wheel, providing nicely placed grips for the 10 and 2 positions, but was also perfect for the very cold morning I filmed this review. In front of you, between the analog gauges, you'll have a digital display, showcasing a variety of information. And while it may not be the most in-depth in this segment, resolution and quality are most certainly on par with rivals. Helping to keep your eyes on the road, a brightly illuminated and easy-to-read head-up display with a digital speedometer and traffic sign recognition will prevent you from getting into too much trouble while driving. Moving over to the infotainment system, you'll have a 10-inch screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation and the Bose 10-speaker surround sound system that will enhance the audio of your favorite music. Rather than being a touchscreen like most user interfaces on the market, there will be a rotary dial, touchpad, quick access buttons, and a volume and tuning knob found on the center console, which in my opinion is not only safer, but easier to use. Whether intentional or not, rotary dials are often found in luxury brands such as Audi and BMW, and does add a sense of quality to the interior, while manufacturers like Toyota and Honda still use touchscreens. Overall, this infotainment system is very easy to use, and just like the exterior design of the CX-5, is actually very minimalistic. However, a new feature we're beginning to see in new Mazda vehicles is a 360-degree surround view camera, with front, rear, and side views to make it easier when parking this crossover. Below, you'll find 2 rows of buttons for your 3-level heated and ventilated seats, dual-zone climate control, and front and rear defrosters. As we make our way towards the center console, you'll have a cubby for a smartphone, and there will also be a 12-volt outlet. Your drive mode selector can be found next to the gear shift lever, giving you the ability to switch from comfort to sport, depending on your style of driving. For the center storage compartment, you'll find plenty of room for small items, 2 USB inputs, and a tray for loose change. And rounding out the front seating area, a power moonroof will let in additional light to the interior. Now for the second row seats for the Mazda CX-5, I do want to point out a question that I received with the Mazda CX-30 review that I did back in the fall. And that was, can I fit a child seat in the second row? And I personally believe that that is not possible. It's going to be a very tight squeeze for you up front, but also I think your child as well. The CX-30 is marketed by Mazda as being a vehicle for a younger demographic. We're talking people are maybe 25, 30 years old that don't have a family or don't plan on having one anytime soon, and most likely they live in the city. The CX-5, on the other hand, is most certainly more conducive for a growing family, and you definitely feel that once you step inside. It's a lot more legroom, it's more spacious, and it's designed better for that growing family. So I do think that if you are looking at buying a Mazda product that fits your lifestyle, we're talking someone with maybe 1 or 2 kids, I think the CX-5 is going to be a better option than the CX-30. And then I think if you are a younger buyer and you're just looking for something that's more upscale at around $30,000, you don't need that extra practicality or space, then the CX-30 might be a better option. Now getting into the legroom for the CX-5, I adjusted the seat all the way back. It's also somewhat on a recline, and I still have a few inches of legroom to work with here, which is very impressive. Now, of course, this is not a full-size SUV, so take that into consideration. I'm around 5'5", so someone at my height is most certainly going to be comfortable. Also, there's a little more headroom than the CX-30, so the CX-5 is better for taller passengers as well. Now, for the center seat, there are some good placements for your feet. The center hump is not very aggressive at all. I just think that for a compact crossover, it's always going to come down to shoulder room. Shoulder room is going to be the major issue. I think if you had very small kids, it would work. But if you were to fit people around 5'7", 5'8", I think that's where people are going to get very squished back here. But most likely with a compact crossover, you're only going to be able to fit 2 people back here. So I'm not surprised or disappointed anyway. I think the CX-5 is on the more comfortable side of things in this segment. And then on the driver's side, I adjusted this seat to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have plenty of legroom to work with here. So overall, I think the CX-5 is a more conducive crossover for a growing family, but also I think if you're looking at a vehicle in this price range, it's going to offer a lot of practicality and everything you're looking for at around $40,000. But also, I don't think you need to really upgrade to a Signature. You can always go with a Touring, and you still get a lot of those comfort features. You get a lot of quality with Mazda products. So no matter what you spend, $30,000, $40,000, I think you're receiving quite a lot. But more importantly, it's also more spacious than its smaller sibling. Also back here, you do get 2 rear air vents, which is great to see on a very cold day like today. And then rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. You're also going to find your buttons for the 3-level heated outboard seats, which is actually a setup we see a lot more of in luxury brands. So we're starting to see Mazda really move in that direction of being a luxury brand. And it's a nice touch. I really like that, especially where most likely you are going to be sitting back here reclining, and you can just press the buttons that will turn on those heated seats, and you're going to be nice and warm on a very cold day like today. Then also, you will have a small compartment for possibly a smartphone, and then you also will have 2 USB inputs. Now coming around to the back, you're going to receive a power liftgate. And inside you're going to find right around 31 cubic feet of rear cargo space, which is actually pretty impressive, but also a bit surprising because from the outside, the Mazda CX-5 does appear to be smaller than its closest competition, but actually when you look at the numbers and the dimensions, it falls right in line with its closest rivals. Then with the second row seats folded, that space right around doubles in size to 60 cubic feet. So overall, this is a really practical crossover for daily use. I think you could definitely fit more than 2 bags of luggage if you are going on a road trip with the family. Maybe you're going to the mountains this time of year to ski and snowboard. But I think overall the CX-5 is definitely more conducive for a family, but also someone who is going to be going on more adventures than with the CX-30. But also I think if you're looking at other competitors in this segment, the CX-5 is on par with other vehicles you're going to be cross-shopping with. Then on either side of the rear cargo area, you will have quick release tabs that will lower those second row seats. But more importantly, and interestingly enough, because we don't see this with Japanese brands, is that you can lower those second row seats in a 40-20-40 split or a 60-40 split. So I like that dual functionality. So if you are going to the mountains and you're skiing, you can set your skis there and they'll be able to fit inside this vehicle, but also the person that's sitting in the second row won't have to be inconvenienced. So I definitely like that, the way this is set up in the CX-5. And then rounding out this rear cargo area, you will have hidden compartments on either side of the floor mat. So if you have any smaller items of value, you can leave them there and no one will ever know that's inside the CX-5. So that's great to see. And then once you're done, just press the button and the lift gate will close automatically. Alright, so let's take the Mazda CX-5 out for a test ride to see how it performs, how it handles, and how it compares to other crossovers in its price range and segment. And also, is it better than the CX-30 I reviewed back in the fall? Now, once you step inside the CX-5, what you're going to notice immediately is that it feels more premium than the CX-30, which of course makes sense. But when you start driving it, it feels better than most of the competition for sure. This leather-wrapped steering wheel feels very nice in the hands, provides nice bulky 10 and 2 positions, and also of course with it being heated, it's certainly nice on a very cold day like today. But I think the way it drives, how smooth it is, even though it does feel stiff, the suspension does feel a bit more rigid than most compact crossovers, despite the fact this is not a sporty vehicle by any means. But it actually provides a great feedback in terms of steering, and also when it comes to acceleration as well, very smooth. Everything is smooth despite feeling somewhat sporty, but also feeling a bit more premium. So I definitely like that, especially where a lot of crossovers in this segment, it might not feel as nice as some more expensive vehicles, more vehicles such as maybe like the X3, Q5, and that makes sense because you're not going to be paying, you know, $25,000, $30,000 and expecting to have a luxury experience. Now, of course, the one that we're in right now is $40,000, and I have to say, it feels really nice to drive. It's really relaxing, but also it definitely has a quality aspect to it. It feels very high quality, and you do expect that now with Mazda products, especially over the last 5 years or so. They've really done a great job of giving these vehicles more refinement, but also making you feel as though you're receiving quite a lot of value for the price. And the CX-5, despite the fact I think that it is aging a bit, it feels pretty good for a vehicle in 2021. Now with the Signature trim, of course you do get the Napa leather seats, and they're really comfortable. They don't provide a lot of bolstering because they're not sports seats, but they're just very relaxing to sit in, and it just makes the whole driving experience so much better overall. Now, when it comes to front vision and also seating position, what's interesting here is that the CX-5 has a ground clearance of around 7.5 inches, which is actually a ½ inch lower than the Mazda CX-30, but I feel like I'm sitting a lot higher up, and I love that. It gives me a much more commanding feel behind the wheel, but also over the road, so I can see a lot more, and I think from a safety aspect, you feel as though you have a lot more vision to work with. A-pillars are not very aggressive. You can see a lot in front of you, and I just think that this is a really, really nice crossover, to be honest. So let's test out acceleration here. Put it in sport mode. Now gear shifts do get a little more aggressive. However, and this is one thing I really like about the turbocharged engine that's paired with the 6-speed automatic, is that gear shifts are very smooth overall. And with the naturally aspirated engine, I'm not a big fan of that pairing. I don't like the naturally aspirated 2.5 with the 6-speed. I prefer the turbo. And even though you're probably gonna say, well, of course you like the turbo. You're a car enthusiast. You want more speed. You want more power. But I think when it comes to the whole overall driving dynamics and performance, I prefer the turbo just because it makes the gear shifts a lot more smooth. It's more enjoyable to drive. And I just think that the pairing is better too. But you definitely have a lot of power at your disposal. You feel it more on the mid-range than on the low end, which is great, especially if you're going on the highway and need to pass slower drivers. But I have to say though, this car is better in comfort mode. That's exactly why I'm putting it back there, just because it's a very relaxing vehicle. It feels nice to drive. You want to drive it for long periods of time. I think it's a great road trip car. And for me, it's definitely one of the better compact crossovers I've driven in this segment. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that there's no CVT. It has an actual automatic, and I prefer that. I know a lot of you guys prefer that as well. And I just think it makes the driving experience so much better. I don't know why a lot of brands insist on having CVTs when they could easily just have a true automatic and maybe have a hybrid system to make gas to make it more fuel efficient. But Mazda has it covered. I like this. This is much better to drive, and you don't get that droning feel when you're accelerating. I like having the 6-speed, but I think when you pair that with the engine, also with the Napa leather seats, this is a vehicle you want to drive for long periods of time. And I'm really enjoying this. I truly am. Let's do one acceleration here. It gets up to speed pretty quickly, but I think with Mazda, and why people, specifically Americans, are really drawn in by this vehicle is because it's very well refined and polished. And even though I personally feel that the CX-5 is dating a bit, this is a great stepping stone for the Mazda brand moving forward, because I think the next generation is going to be even better. I think when you have that next generation, we start seeing that luxury come into play. That's when I feel as though we're going to start looking at Mazda as being a true luxury brand. I think right now with their products currently, they're doing the best they can. Seeing that right now with the CX-5 with the Napa leather seats, heated and ventilated seats, heated seats for the second row. We're seeing these small touches and these small details coming into play, and I think that it's a great indication of where this brand is going in the future. So at the end of the day, everything that we've seen and experienced with this crossover is why the Mazda CX-5 is starting to outsell most of its competition in this segment and price range. Now, I do think there's a lot of people out there that will say that paying $40,000 for a Mazda CX-5 is a bit pricey, especially where you could probably cross-shop this vehicle at that point with an Acura RDX, Lexus NX, and I think we're now getting into the territory for a BMW X1 and Audi Q3. However, you're receiving quite a lot. You get heated and ventilated seats that are also Napa leather, which are super comfortable. But also, I think the driving dynamics is very refined. It's very nice. But also, I think it's a little bit better than a Volkswagen Tiguan. It's better than a Jeep Cherokee. It's better, in my opinion, than a Honda CR-V. Now, of course, when it comes to sales volume, it's not going to outsell a RAV4 or a CR-V, and it might not be as practical as those two crossovers, but I think overall, when you look at interior comfort and the way the design is and just the materials that they're using inside the Mazda CX-5, I think it definitely is better than most vehicles in this segment. I think we're starting to see a lot of consumers starting to react to that, and I really do believe that if you were to cross-shop a CX-5 with a Tiguan, I'd recommend going with the CX-5 just because it's more comfortable. But also, I think that if you were to test drive some vehicles back-to-back with the CX-5, you're going to notice that the CX-5 drives better. Even though I think the 6-speed automatic isn't the best in this segment, it's certainly better than the CVTs that we're seeing from other Japanese manufacturers. So I just like the CX-5 overall, but I do believe that we're starting to see this particular generation age a bit, where I think Mazda is ready to take that next step. And I think that next generation, that next platform is going to allow Mazda to really move in a luxury direction with this particular model. And I'm really excited to see what they have in store, because there's a lot of potential for this brand and this particular model that I think a lot of Americans are most certainly going to love. But in the meantime, for the 2021 model year, I think that this product is really nice. One of the better crossovers I've experienced in this price range and segment. Now, like I said before, you don't need to spend $40,000 for a Signature. You can go with a Touring or a Grand Touring, even the Carbon Edition. There's just a lot of options to choose from, but I think if you're looking for everything included, pay $40,000 for a Signature, and I think you're going to be very happy at the end of the day. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.